to the candidates for sheriff. The two that are running are Daniel Soptic and Celicia Towers. Are they with us?
I'm here.
Daniel?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is Celicia here? Celicia Towers? We're running a little late, and that may be the reason. Why don't we go ahead, Daniel, and start with your opening remarks?
Sure.
You have.
I want to thank all you guys for being here tonight. I want to thank you for putting this forum on. It's been great. I've been here since the beginning, listening to the mayors, and it's been very informative. So thank you. In April, it'll be 18 years for me in law enforcement, all here in Wyandotte County. I rose through the ranks at the sheriff's office, Turner graduate, and also a KCKCC graduate. Very proud of both of those schools. I have a master's from KU in business administration and organizational leadership. I'm also an FBI National Academy graduate. I'm not a candidate with a personal agenda. My agenda is to serve the citizens of Wyandotte County, and I'm committed to engaging our community with all of our employees. Lifelong Dot, if you will, born and raised, and I'm very proud to call Wyandotte County home, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Well, thank you very much. Now we'll go to our questions and start with Mary Rupert. Mary?
Thank you. Do you support the proposed safe and welcoming ordinance, including the ID provision and the ban on calling ICE?
So I support protecting all of our members of our community. And I would have to say yes, yes, and no. So yes, in the sense that at the foundation of what that ordinance is trying to do, I'm 100% on board. The ID portion is definitely something that I think law enforcement, it would be useful for law enforcement. But in that ordinance, it talks about threat to public safety. It defines that, and I think that's one part or one area where I do deviate a little from the ordinance. And also, there's just a few things that it makes it difficult as sheriff to enforce 100% the way it's written and still do your job and do your duty as an elected official and uphold the statutes that you're elected to uphold. So at the basis, yes, I do. I definitely think with a few tweaks, it's something that we together could come to some common ground. Closing out ICE completely from the equation is problematic. In order to address the threat to public safety, there has to be some communication with that agency, because no matter what community you're in, nobody wants other people in that community that's going to harm their loved ones or their friends. And so there has to be a way to address those individuals that truly are a threat, while still maintaining safety and security for everybody else. And so I think we could do some more working together on it, and I think that's something we can figure out. But as an elected, as the sheriff, I do have a duty to uphold the statutes of the state of Kansas and protect everyone. And so that is some common ground we would have to find.
Next, we'll go to JD Rios for his question. JD?
All right. Thank you very much for your attendance. I know we've gone long,
That's
and
okay.
so your patience is greatly appreciated.
That's okay.
I will ask you, how do you propose to address the increase in juvenile crime? Both in a, your law enforcement role, but also in the rehabilitation as an overseer of the county jail.
Sure. Well, let me start off by saying that nobody wants less juveniles in custody more than I do, than we do. The fewer we have there, the better. And I think we can all agree with that. So we'll start there. It's not the direct mission of the sheriff's office to necessarily prevent those things, but I definitely believe we play a part in it, and we can play a part in it. Our new facility, one of the things that the sheriff Ash has really been proud of as we've moved through that process is some of the abilities it gives us to host some programs, host things, for people that didn't have a home before, didn't have a meeting place. And so I've mentioned before in some other forums, we have so many amazing community groups that their focus really is preventing juvenile crime or interceding in somebody or interceding in a situation where a juvenile is in the system, and trying to help mentor them and work through, the difficulties of that. So I personally believe that where we play the part is we support all of those groups, whoever it is. We support them. We support them in the resource of using the facility. We support them in events that they may be doing, utilizing our people. Anything that we can do to further their place in that system, if you will. Like I said, there's tons of them, but unfortunately, they don't always get the support that I think they deserve from the community. They do play a reactive role, but they also play a proactive role. And so while it may not be funding, while it may not be something that's tangible that we provide to them, the support definitely is huge. And when they have us behind them and they know we're there to support them, and we're involved with them, that also furthers our ability to be engaged with those juveniles and let them know what we do and who we are, because we're in the community, we live in this community. And so I think the support piece is huge, because those organizations don't always get that.
Elnora, your question.
Okay, thank you very much. As I was thinking about development, I'm going to go back to the issue that I've been talking about all night. I think about the development and looking at the landscape in the Northeast as being, just though there is housing development, a little bit of it now, as a blank slate. So then we're building. The development has to be built, and it's built upon several principles. I'm wanting to know from the law enforcement part, is what is your thinking about your involvement, and your involvement that exists now, as well as your involvement that you would want to have in talking about the development, not only the brick and mortar, which is really negligible in some sense, but in terms of human development and getting people to live together, to work together, to minimize crime and some of those other negative impacts that human nature can cause people to do. So that is the question that I have for you. Have you been involved? Have you thought about it? And if not, would you want to be involved? Is there a benefit in when we talk about development in the Northeast?
Sure. So, my involvement in many different civic organizations has taken me all over the county, but I think that's a very interesting question, and I like that. One thing that I've pushed through the campaign is engaging community engagement, both adult and juvenile. And I think when law enforcement is out in the community, when we're able to really humanize us, the residents see us as people, as those that live with them, that shop with them, that exist with them. And so when we go into those areas that you talk about, that, you know, aren't near as robust or that are underdeveloped or whatever, you know, when they see us and we are now part of that landscape, if you will, I think it should make people more comfortable. And obviously that's another discussion as well. But, you know, if there's crime in an area and that's why there's either a development issue or if there's some other issue in an area, I think just having us there and having us engaged with the community, having us really be part of that community is very positive. And that tends to bring in other groups. And so, you know, I mentioned the groups with the juveniles, but we have civic organizations all over this county. And a lot of times they're just looking for invitations. They're just looking for opportunities to be involved or to be in an event. And they just need somebody to kind of help push that along or encourage that. And law enforcement tends to bring that. You know, as we bring resources out and as we engage with the community, other groups tend to follow, quite honestly. And so if we could be that catalyst, if we could be the tipping point maybe to bring some of those organizations along, who knows what could follow and who knows who could follow. And so I think that would be our role. I have thought about it in the sense of how we engage. I can't say that I've thought about it in the depth that you're talking about, but it's a wonderful question and it's very valid. But I think if you look at events, you know, even events that we've had as recent as a couple of weeks ago, the sheriff's office and the police department was involved with the Faith in Blue movement. And if you saw that there at the old Indian Spring site, you know, that was something that was a collaboration between the sheriff's office, the police department, and our many of our religious organizations and churches. And if you look at the other groups that came along with that, that's because historically, when law enforcement gets involved in those community events and community things, other groups tend to come along and want to be involved. And so I think that's how we contribute in those areas. Thank you.
Okay. Now we will move to closing remarks. You have 1 minute.
I think what I would say is, first of all, I want to thank everybody. I want to thank everybody that's here. I want to thank you guys for waiting for me at the end. It's very much appreciated. When I got the invite, I was excited to see that you guys were doing this again, because the first one was just as good. And so, you know, there's a couple things that we've already started to work on in the sheriff's office. One of those is addressing our hiring and our retention. We actually had an employee that came up with an idea of a hiring and retention committee, and that's something that's moving full steam ahead. You know, we're looking to our employees for some new ideas, things that maybe we haven't done in the past, and I am committed to doing that and continuing to do that. What I would say is, if you're looking for an honest, ethical, experienced candidate, come November 2nd or before, if you're voting early, I would ask that you vote for me. And I'm very much looking forward to serving in the capacity of sheriff and continuing to serve the community that I call home and that I will always call home. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We are adjourned.